Welcome, everyone. This is Piney Fields, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Edwin.
Hi.
Arendis.
Hey, everybody.
And Sanswinda.
Hello.
Hello there, everyone. And this week we actually have a little bit of news that's not related to patches.
Woo!
We have patch news too, but we have other news.
We have other news here. We'll begin with the big news, and that Standing Stone Games and Daybreak, in fact, it was Daybreak who officially put out the original notice, informed us that on November 6th, LOTRO will be starting a legendary server.
And this means what exactly?
That is, of course, something that we're still trying to sort out. Essentially, this is a server that is going to have a server-wide level cap that is below the main game level cap. In this case, the level cap is going to start at 50, which is the original level cap to the game. Therefore, we'll be starting at the areas up to Moria. They're going to shut off all the areas that are outside of that area, so you can't go into Moria or anything like that, even if you're at 45. I know currently you can go into Moria at 45, 46. No. You can't go into any of the areas that were designed to be played above level 50. And in fact, during the Q&A session, they said if you somehow find yourself in one of those areas, you'll be very quickly ported back over to whatever your home location is. So if you're a hobby, you'll probably find yourself dumped in one of the delvings. So that's something that you know about, is you'll be limited to those areas. Any instances that are based outside of that area won't be available, even if normally you'd be able to do them. For example, those Erebor quests that I think you start to get them at level 20, right?
Yeah,
that
unlocks at 20.
For all those quests, all those Erebor quests unlock at 20. No, they're not going to be available because Erebor is not part of the original game.
Oh, that means no Gandalf board at 20 either.
That's kind of sad.
Oh, that's right.
That's going to make getting to Rivendell more interesting. More dangerous, more time-consuming.
I wonder if that also means there won't be festivals or anything at the beginning, even when there normally would be on the live servers, because they didn't introduce festivals until later.
No, they will include festivals because the festivals are held at the traditional location. It's based on location more than when it was introduced to the game.
Okay.
So therefore, the Halls of Night, for example, will be available because the Halls of Night is in Angmar, which is part of... So Angmar is part of the original game, so the Halls of Night, even though it wasn't part of the original game, will be in there. The skirmishes, they decided to save those until the release of Moria.
What about Eregion?
Eregion, I got the impression, they have to have, because they are allowing school and library. So Eregion is going to be there then. I know it wasn't part of the original game, but essentially it's anything up to Moria seems to be what's going to be included.
Well, it should be interesting.
Originally, only the first half of Volume 1 was released with the game.
Yeah, but they're going to release all the way up to 15.
Okay, so they're doing all of Volume 1, basically. So you can do the areas in Eregion and whatnot.
Yeah, so you're going to have Warhel, you're going to have Eregion, you're going to have Evendim, and all those places. Now, this is not going to be what they call a vanilla server or what you would call a classic server, in the sense that they're not rolling the code back to what it was at the beginning. This is using the current coding system whatever
right.
they have.
Well, we just sort of kind of established that because they said because we'll have Florical and Aregian.
Right, and we'll still have trait trees, and you can be a Bjorning or a High Elf, or a Warden, or a Runekeeper.
Well, yeah. So all that's still going to be around. You are going to have to... You're not going to have to worry about some of those old things like travel rations or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that. So essentially, the game is going to be like it currently is. If you stay within the area that's in the beginning, 1 through 50, then it'll probably be about the same game that you would have today if you stayed in those regions. Except, of course, you won't have the skirmishes because they're not being introduced until Moria.
And you can't get your LI at level 45 until Moria comes out.
Right, because no Moria, no LI.
No LI.
Right. So
that means that all the mobs aren't going to be dropping LIs when you get to the level 50 stuff either. So you'll have more bag space for all the other loot that you might want.
Yes, there is that.
Well, I mean, there's filters too now, so you could make bag space too, but...
Yes. And one of the things that they've had in here is, let's see... I got interrupted one time too many there, apparently. I keep remembering that I keep on forgetting it. So, essentially then is, we're going to have a release on November 6th. That's when the server is going to open up. I don't think they've announced the name of the server yet. We'll hear that. I guess we'll find out when it opens up. Currently, there's going to be a single server. There will not be any transfers to or from this server. If they have multiples, they most likely only have transfers to and from other legendary servers if they ever open up any more of those things.
I get the sense that they're really only planning to have the one legendary server, though, so I'm not 100% sure how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, there's probably only going to be one of them, but if it's highly successful, then they may change their mind. I have a feeling that current plans are for only a single one. That we'll have to see.
Yeah, it also says there's no separate European legendary server, but German and French-speaking players can play on Legendary using the localized game clients.
Right. It's just that most of the world chat's going to be in English, so they'll need to know English if they want to follow world chat. Now, of course, if they don't care what world chat is saying, then that's an entirely different matter, and most likely they may set up a custom channel for their own language. I presume that's what people who speak languages other than French, German, and English do on the existing servers, that they have some sort of custom chat channel where they contact each other. Because it would make sense if they have one so that they could communicate with each other without
having to sift through all the English.
Yeah, without having to sift through all the English, German, or French, yeah. And note that we have had several cases in the last update where they have been trying to rebalance the middle levels. And they've been trying to find it so that they could get those levels so that they are more balanced than current. I have a feeling this is the main reason they decided they needed to do it now. Because you've had this unbalance of how things operated in the 40s and 50s and on up, stuff like that, for quite a while. And to me, it was logical that they say, okay, we need these legendary servers. So we're going to do that. We're going to have things reasonably challenging at 50. I know they don't have it perfectly yet. I presume there's going to be another update before this release where they're hoping to tweak that a little bit more so that when you get to 50 and you're at the new cap, or at the
old cap.
or the old cap, or the legendary cap, we'll call it, then there's going to be some challenging content. And when people are running on Card Doom, we don't want people just walking on top of the monsters in Card Doom. But we also don't want people being squished and making it impossible. And I'm hoping that's what they're testing right now to get the perfect balance there.
Well, on level, Card Doom was never really a picnic. As somebody who's done it on level can tell you.
Yeah.
But they have that nice day spot there.
Day spa, yes, I know. Card Doom Day Spa.
Yeah, the Card Doom Day Spa, everyone's favorite little thing. Standing Stone Games did hold on Friday, in place of their usual Court of the Ring session, they did hold a Q&A session. This was posted over at Massively, who gives essentially the main answers that they were given during that one. And they also had in there, because originally during the original Q&A session, they didn't know the date. Then SSG put out a tweet saying it's November 6th. Now, note that even though the vast majority of the stuff outside of area is not going to be available, somehow you're going to be able to get to houses in the Bay of Belfalis, because no cosmetics are going to be gated through this, and the housing areas won't be gated. But of course, if you go the gate of Belfalis, I'm sure it'll port you back to your home region.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. New content is going to be rolled out approximately, and note, approximately, very strong emphasis on the word approximately. 4 months.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
We will see how that. We'll see how that works. That means that we're starting at November 6th, December, January, February, March. We'll see whether or not Moria opens in March or not. It could be that they're going to see what the state of the server is, how the players are going, how the community is operating in. I don't know if they're going to make their decision based on how the community is operating, or if they're going to make the decision on how fast they can make sure that everything is balanced at the next level, or if it's going to be a combination of the two, or what. And you will continue to get your little box presents that you normally do when you start a new character, assuming that you've got all these promotionals and anniversary gifts and all that stuff. You know, those 7 million promotionals I get whenever I log into the game the first time with the new character. And I presume you get them also. Now, initially, they are thinking of not having things like experience tomes, but they may be enabled later. They haven't decided what they're going to do with them, because when they first start out, they don't want someone just trying to rocket jet up to level 50 in one day, though I'm sure there's someone who's going to manage it anyway.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the point, is that you're not supposed to be rushing to get to the level cap.
Yes, but there's always somebody who wants to.
So if you only have 4 months, you kind of got to rush a little bit if you don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah, when I said rush to it, I mean trying to do it in less than a week.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, say you're in school or something, and it opens just in time for Thanksgiving break, it might make sense to rush through it before finals, or before the next thing starts for you.
Ah, so you're thinking then that someone wants to get the cap in 2 weeks, so over Thanksgiving they will be running the cap level dungeons?
Right, or so that they could have fun running cap level dungeons over Christmas break before they have to go back and be studious or something, you know.
Yeah, there is that. And it'd be really fun to see how many people actually managed to beat the Rift.
That should be fun. I think the only time I was in there, I was on a level 99 character.
Yeah, that's the thing is, be interesting how well that's going to be balanced in there because the Rift is going to be very tough.
You're talking, it's a 4-hour raid minimum.
Yeah, it's a 4. Yeah, that's probably something. That's something in which I could think of Christmas holidays. Someone wanting to be ready to do the Rift for the Christmas holidays because that's a good time in which.
Even over leveled, like you're talking a good 2 hours in there, and trying to do it on level at least 4.
Yeah, I will believe that because I think I did it at level 65. It took.
Yeah, we did it at level 50.
Okay, and you managed to get through it?
No. Nope.
Yeah.
Sarissa still has not beaten that boss.
Yeah. Well, the one time I did it anywhere near on level, we couldn't even unlock the boss to start that fight. Now, there is going to be some festival content that's going to be disabled if it requires you to travel to outside region. Now, the anniversary event, they have already updated the anniversary event, the Tales, Trifles, and Travels, so that there was a version of it that didn't require you to go past level 50. So that will fit perfectly in with this. And I think that covers just about everything. Anything else you could think of?
Nope, I think we got everything.
Oh,
nope.
They were thinking that they may do some tweaking concerning virtue caps. They haven't made a final decision on this, I think, that maybe having your cap virtue based on your level or something like this, but I think that was just a possibility. Because they're trying to think what to do about virtues, because right now the virtue cap is, 20 or something like that?
Yeah, yes. But can you earn 20 of any virtue doing deeds before Moria? I can't imagine that there are 20 deeds for each virtue before Moria.
Yeah, there definitely aren't.
In fact, I don't think that there are enough to get you to the former cap before Moria. And if there are, you would have to work really hard at it.
Yeah, so it is possible that they may just decide to leave that little bit and not worry about a cap on it.
I mean, if they just limited what you could buy in the store, they would have a natural cap on it. Because what you could actually earn in-game would be well below the 20.
Right, because they could, of course, limit what you can buy and not buy in store, since they're likely to limit the XP tomes availability at the very beginning. So it's also possible that they will also limit other things, because they just have the switch to turn on and off what's available in the store then. And they've had a couple of items where there was a quest. If you noticed in the last couple of weeks, if there was a quest that you thought should have been available, and for some reason during a recent update what became suddenly not available, one of the reasons is that, they had it flagged, all set up, because they've been adding these flags for the Legendary server over the last update, over the last couple of months. And there are a couple of them that got misflagged, and
oops.
Some of those then, when they either exited an update or something like this, they had to change the flag so that the quest could become available again. So there were a couple of items in there. So if you heard of a quest that for some reason suddenly disappeared and then came back in the next hotfix or something like that, it was probably because of trying to prepare for the Legendary thing. And we also not only have the stuff from Standing Stone Games, and of course the Massively article I mentioned. There's also a piece from Squirrel talking about his particular takes on it. He not only talks about this, he gives several links in here.
Yeah, he's got the link to the Massively article and the other discussions, which is helpful if you want the other I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If you're trying to find those other articles on there, if the article was available, it looks like he probably found. It looks like he updated this on the 27th. I was probably to add the date when he did that, and we have here also some community reactions he put on what some members of the community thought about. Some of them don't like it. Some of them say not for me. Some of them liking it. Usual thing.
Well, people are always going to complain.
It's true. But it's 36 more characters I can create, so...
Do you actually have 36 characters on every single server?
Nope, not yet. I'm working on it still.
Yet.
How good is your German?
Nicht sehr gut.
Well done.
I'll tell you what. You can play on the French and German servers without actually speaking the language, because you can still read all of the quest text is localized to your language. So you can play and still read the quest text in English. You just aren't going to be able to talk to anybody else because they're all speaking the other languages. But you can totally play on. I have characters on the French and German server.
Yes, I know. I have a character that I've been preparing to do a playthrough on the German server, and yes.
Finally, how's your German?
Even less good than yours. Let's head into our 23.1.2 patch notes.
Because what's a week of LOTRO Players news without update patch notes?
Yes.
Well,
And
if we didn't have the update patch notes, we'd be falling down on our job, guys.
I'm sure there'll be a couple more patch notes also in 2 weeks when we have the report of the land rush on the legendary server. Unless, of course, something goes wrong and they have to push back the date. Tier 3 difficulty is now available, and this replaces former Tier 2C difficulty and offers a new challenge in addition to new rewards. All Update 23 Where the Dragons Dwell instances now have Tier 3 difficulty available.
Woohoo! I still haven't gotten to any of them yet, though.
I haven't done any of them at Tier 1 yet, so therefore, obviously I haven't done them at Tier 3 either, where I'm going to get squished if I bother those. The Hunter trait Endurance was adding several %,000% bonus to parry and evade. That has been adjusted.
So, when I saw these patch notes before the patch released, I totally tried switching on my endurance stance that I pretty much never use, and it bumped me up by, exactly 400 parry rating. It did not change my stats, percentage-wise, that I was blocking or parrying or evading. Well, I don't block anything, but it did not change my parry and evading percentages at all. So I was kind of disappointed to not be one of the hunters who had thousands. But maybe they had fixed that before I tried it. But I was pretty sure that was before the patch release.
All right. And in housing, they fixed an issue with a couple of houses at Cape of Ophalis, and now players can place doormats without having to be in their tricks or trickery costumes.
Hooray! That would have saved me several costumes.
And several property guards are now usable by anyone with a housing decoration usage permission, not just the owner. And it looks like quite a number. It looks like all the generic ones are in that list.
Mhm.
So why you'd want a Virag property guard, I don't know.
It could be fun.
Depends on how much you like your neighbors. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Byleaf.
Or dislike them.
Exactly.
And new items have been added to the Adventure Steel-bound loot box, including the stalwart variants of the Grey Mountains Elite Cosmetic Armor, of Visiting Banker, useful housing NPC that grants you access to your character bank, a Black Mastiff pet, a new feathered hooded cloak of Rourke, a fancy hoodless cloak, and the War Steed of Erid Mithrin. A collection box with a full set of War Steed variant appearances of the steeds of Erid Mithrin. And these items are now available in the Figments of Splendor from the Adventure Quartermaster. So if you have plenty of Figments of Splendor, you can go to your Adventurer's Quartermaster and get one of these items.
And if you don't, but you have lots of whatever the ashes turned into, you can trade it for that. For Figments of Splendor.
Yeah, for the
Motes of Enchantment or whatever they are.
Yeah, whatever they're called.
Something new currency.
Yes.
For when you can't actually be bothered to remember what the new currency is. Something new currency.
I was trying really hard, and all I was coming up with was Figments of Ashes, and I was like, that's not going to cut it.
Thank you for trying, Sans. We appreciate it.
Yes. Ironfold crafted bassoons have been fixed to grant the same amount of morale and power as the other Ironfold instruments.
Is it wrong that I accidentally read that as baboons the first time I was reading it? Really,
That would be really funny.
We haven't made it down to Harad yet.
Do they have baboons in Harad?
I don't know.
Maybe.
We're going to find out maybe someday.
They have Mumax.
sorry. Pray continue.
The reputation requirements for Ironfold jewelry has been lowered from kindred to ally. And the black cat now properly appears in your pet collection. And of course, there were several updates to Quest and Adventures area. The Grey Mountains Expedition's daily solo activities now award more reputation. A fortune of... Okay, maybe I better not go into what this whole thing about Fortune of Harvest Spirit, because they have been having a nightmare getting the Fall Festival quest line to work right, because apparently it's possible to get things in a backward order, and they say that the result of that happening is similar to what happens if your zipper goes off track. In other words, the whole thing just fails to work completely.
That's not good.
Yeah, so they're still trying to find a good solution on that matter. But that's been creating some trouble with the Fall Festival. I think they eventually came up with a compromise solution that they hope will at least help with most of the cases and reduce the chances of the error coming in the first place. But I got the impression that there still might be one or two edge cases that aren't working right. Dwarfhold's Rewards Quartermasters have updated rewards for players who have finished Chapter 8.7 of the Black Book of Mordor. And the quest for claiming the Grey Final now awards a Dwarf mark. Travel routes between Trollshalls and Eregion are no longer blocked by the Tree Ridge.
Hooray!
Ooh.
So that's apparently was some sort of trouble they were having there. Corrected a looping travel route issue in the Lone Lands. Whatever that is.
Hooray for not
And
going in
that's
circles.
the last place you want to be traveling around in circles. I mean, it's hard enough finding your way around. Well, it's not really all that hard finding your way around the Lowlands, unless you happen to be my mother.
Yes.
But when you don't know your way around the lowlands yet, it can be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, they didn't mention anything about a boulder being removed that was on Weathertop, but it's not in the known issues area anymore, so perhaps they have taken care of that.
That would be nice if they've at least removed the fence if they did not move the boulder.
Yeah. And an Arid Mithrin fixed several issues with the new and existing Wanted Pebbles quest. These quests related to the Withered Heath and now can be completed correctly. Good thing they fixed this before we got. And as for known issues, the loot box cosmetic pest Black Mastiff Pet incorrectly uses the Farmer Magus dog appearance and has a rabbit icon. And then they give
It's the shape-shifting pet.
It's a shape-shifting Black Mastiff.
The known issues article does include a picture of the actual Black Mastiff, what it will look like when they finally fix it.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Really cool.
I gotta get one of those.
It really does.
I just don't want to actually do the things that I have to do in order to get one of those.
Well, there is that. Then we have the LOTRO Beacon, issue number 83, where it looks like we are at the Fall Festival for the top cover.
Oh, what gave it away?
The pumpkins, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that the new area? The where the wheat maze is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that looks like that type of area. Wistmead or whatever they called it.
That's a really nice almost headless horseman impression that player's doing on that horse.
It really
good.
Great. That's a great spooky shot.
Mm-hmm. And the use of the light and the lantern and all of that, it's really well done.
Yeah.
In our community spotlight, Trinaphil has created a mini comic of the Duran's Day thread in the forums. And players have come together to list where you could find treats and trickery doormats. And you could click on the server of your choice. They have them for Lanterville, Evernight, Arkenstone, Brandywine, Laurelland, Crick Hollow, and Gladden.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, props to all the people who have worked to put this together.
Now, I would presume that there might be also similar versions for the other three servers. It's just that they're in other languages, so we may have had trouble understanding what they were saying.
Or if there's not, maybe you guys can start some.
Yeah. With our German not being gut.
I meant listeners, but us too. We can work on our German.
And you can learn about the Breland White Scene Tour 2018, an RP event on Laurelland, though they didn't give the date there, so I guess it's always possible that it's already.
Hold on, let's see.
Looks like that date is Sunday, November 4th.
Yes. At 2:30 p.m. server time.
2:30 p.m. server time. All right. 2:30 p.m., which is 7:30 p.m. UK time, which they like to give UK times also in Laurelland. Also in the beacon, we have that is today. So therefore, let's go to the Kin Hall instead. Goblins for Hire is a kin on Brandywine that has a year-round haunted kin house at 5 Long Street, Cauldrill Housing in Bury. Feel free to check them out. So if you need to go to a haunted house at any other time of the year than October, then that would be a good place to go. I'm sure there are many others around during October. Now our weekly comment is, have you been tricking or treating during the fall festival this year? Have you done more of the tricking or more of the treating? It sounds like we've been doing neither based on the.
I still haven't. I still haven't actually been to the festival.
I haven't either. It's on my list.
I have been tricking and treating, but I have not finished eating 20 of each of the treats yet.
Oh boy.
I have a sweet tooth title, though.
Yes.
Oh no,
at
least 2 characters, I think.
I believe the only thing I've done in the fall festival so far really is the Bingo Boffin quest. Let's head to our Fansite news then. Bloodborne ran some Grey Mountains dungeons. And Mushui streamed first character questing, leveling instances, and more. And Eklinar had episode 105, The Stolen Stones. No idea where the stones were stolen. Was he stealing standing stones?
Hopefully not.
And you also watch Be Bold, Be Wary with Apulu Felgar. And you can watch Adventures After Dark with Big Ed Mustafa. And of course, Gondor Has No Druids with Druid's Fire. And Mythgard in Middle-earth with the Tolkien Professor. And remember that the Harvest Math Festival is now through November 6th. That's disappearing right around the same time as the legendary servers are due to come up. Coincidence?
I think not.
For our screenshot of the week, we have Tweelinel of Landravol, who seems to be in charge of crows this week, or ravens, or something like that. Where are we?
Probably it's a very creepy shot. It's, again, very well done.
Yeah, it's another very creepy shot. I'm wondering if this is also the new area.
It looks like it might be.
That's a fantastic mask that they've got on. I think that's the Raven mask.
It would be appropriate for what he's surrounded by, yes.
Either that or it's one of the forests, but I really think it's like one of the newer areas because there's a pumpkin in the grass over to the right.
Yeah. So we are guessing that this is in the new festival area. And that is it for the beacon. Let's go into our source sales. And Terry Adwin, what's for sale this week?
Well, the weekly coupon gets you Universal Morale Potion ×5 with coupon code Morale now through November 2nd. And we have 30% off select war steeds, riding skills, select mounts, and movement speed buffs also through November 2nd. So if you don't already have the Journeyman riding skill, now is the time to get it.
Whee!
Because it's awesome.
This week, LOTRO Players News is brought to us by the Chaucer Relief Fund. Please, does Chaucer need help in order to reestablish themselves after the destruction of their homeland?
And they might be able to use some protection from Jengavar as well.
Yes, there is that little problem too. We do have to keep them protected from the Jengavar, who seem to just like being nuisances of themselves.
Easterling refugees.
Yeah.
So sad.
Let's look at the site news where we have Norbog News number 4, Evil Makes a Comeback.
Okay, so this section under Hobbits and Chicken all over Udun, I think should be read aloud.
All right, then you can read it.
Shortly after the fall of the Black Gate, friends from Udun started complaining about an influx of chickens and hens at unearthly hours. Not much later, hobbits and dwarves started opening and closing hatches, locking goblins out of their home when taking a stroll around the forge works. Plenty of people wanted to move, but they didn't know where to go.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. The joys. The joys of Udun. And you can read the entire article, of course, at LOTRO Players News. Let's then head into our new player question. Do we have a new player question, Arandis?
Sorry, I'm still laughing at this article. No, all of my questions were about the new legendary servers, and we already discussed that and answered all the questions I have. So I don't have one specific question this week. Sorry. You guys stole my question, Thunder.
Sorry about that, but yes, we would make sure that we're clear about what is coming. Okay, we're not clear about what's happening, so obviously we can't make it clear. Shoot. But I'm sure that we will understand a lot better in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Then let's head to our week in LOTRO. And Terry Adwin, what were you looking? What were you doing?
Well, so Terry Adwin on Landy headed back to Erebor and found yet more dwarves to babysit.
Of course.
In addition to the aforementioned Chiasir. Hence the need for the relief fund, because she's really tired of babysitting. And then I ran Terry Fluffs around in the moors along with Sands and Cinders. We assisted with returning a couple of keeps to creep control. This was kind of awesome because the balance is still in the creeps' favor, which it hasn't been for so long that the creeps are like, yes, we rule. And yeah, we really do. So we were out on the moors and we got the message that one of the keeps had flipped. Because they do from time to time, they'll automatically flip to the other side if they've been held by one side for too long. And so we went down to see if there was any action going on, and there were a pair of defilers taking back the keep of Lugazag. So this is just south of the Gramsfoot, which is where the creep's home base is. So 2 defilers and 3 wargs proceeded through the keep and took back the keep. It was glorious. It was probably the most awesome keep flip I've been a part of. And then on a different occasion, we were going to take back the Eyes in Deep Mine, but by the time we got there, it had already flipped. And shortly after that, the keep of Tirith Raw, which is south of Eyes in Deep, flipped, and we made it down there in time to participate in that raid, because that's a lot harder to take. I mean, Eisen is really easy. Eisen is probably the easiest on the Moors map to flip. TR is probably one of the harder ones. Second to Talisgarnen, which I think is the hardest one to flip, just because of the way the keep is structured. So we get in there, and there's like a whole bunch of people taking back Tirith Raw. And I don't know who's keeping the Freeps penned in GV while we're all flipping TR, but they did. Because there were no Freeps anywhere. No Freeps. We actually got bored of nomming on hobbits. That's how little Freeps there were. We went looking for something else to kill because we had eaten too many hobbits when we were all full. So it was good to get some more kills in over at Tirith Raw. And then my Ariad lore master attempted to go into Carascalathon because I wanted to start Volume 3, and I'm pretty sure you start Volume 3 at Galadriel. I could be mistaken. You could start it somewhere else. I'll look it up on the wiki later. But I was denied entrance to Carascalathon. So I looked around to see if there was something she could do to maybe get some rep with those elves that didn't involve tree lullabies. Because we all know how I feel about singing to trees. Now, granted, she's the lore master. She's a little bit more of a tree hugger than Terry was. But I'm still not really a fan of having to sing to trees. Yeah, so she's running around looking for mushrooms instead, which I'm not 100% sure is a lot better, but I'm not wasting my time looking for trees to sing to. Sans, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. One of the first things I did this week was go with the girls of Middle Earth adventuring, and I survived a dangerous moose attack while the girls were taking level 33 burglars to celebrate Durn's Day. We had stopped inside of, I'm not good with names today, Dale. We were inside Dale, and we stopped for a picture before leaving Dale. And we were all cheering and roaring, and we had a deadly photobomber invade our space and cause chaos and confusion and much merriment and amusement. So, I should probably put the link in. But there is a 1-minute highlight of the moments before and of the attack and the moments after as we regrouped and tried to figure out what exactly had just happened.
It is the funniest thing on Twitch since the Cardoom Day spot. I'm just going to tell you guys that.
It really is. Even if you watch it with the sound off, which I did because I was out doing something, it's hilarious, and you need to watch.
And you can find, I think I linked it on Twitter, and I know it's on the Signum U Twitch channel under the highlights, so it is totally worth the 1 minute that it takes to watch that, because that was really funny.
That was hilarious.
And then when Sans was out questing, she found some cool hidden things. Yeah, dwarvish houses are kind of cool. She kind of wants one now, especially if it has some, well, she would want one with less spider webs, let's just say. But it was really cool. And then she enjoyed some invisibility while she was undercover as a Chaiseer, thwarting Jangovar plans to exploit the Chaiseer. And I had to go AFK, and so I had my companion with me, a Chaiseer guy named Tuhal, and I camouflaged myself because I didn't want to attract any predators, but I thought I was in a fairly safe area, and I was just going to be gone for a minute. And I came back to a tell from Maven, and she's like, so I saw your Tuhal just standing in the road, but you were nowhere to be found. And so that is totally a highlight, because my camouflage totally worked, and I was invisible while undercover as a Chaiseer. So that was fun. And
I keep saying, when we're in the moors on our wargs, that the best way to stay invisible is to not move.
Right, and yeah, she was just standing there invisible, and it worked. So, and then I was unable to finish the epic quest in Harlog earlier today. It sends you into the ruins to kill that one guy, and we could not get into the ruins at all. It was like running into an invisible wall. We couldn't get to the mushrooms that were on that side. We couldn't get to any of the mobs. So if you shot the mobs, they could get to you. So giving up on that, I started up defensive Amonsul, 2 levels over us, and I had kind of crummy gear. And it went just fine. And we didn't have any debuffs, and we finally stopped paying too much attention to the fires, because we figured that the worst case scenario is that Candaith wasn't going to be doing very much damage and therefore not drawing very much aggro. So, yeah, apparently High Elves and Bjornings make a good team for defensive Amonsul, because there was no debuff. So,
yeah, I
OP furballs, I keep telling you.
Yeah, I knew about I knew about the Bjornings not getting those buffs and debuffs in the skirmish, and I bugged it a long time ago, back when Bjornings first came out. But this is the first time I learned about it with the High Elves, where I was saying, wait a minute, why is no one getting the buff? I figured out, oh yeah, the new races. So
we had 2 High Elves and 1 Bjorning, and no debuffs on anybody except Candaith. So, yeah, that was interesting. Ernest, how was your week?
Well, it was not as eventful as getting attacked by a moose. So, I mostly was doing quests in Moria, especially in the waterworks. I survived a giant spider's den, which, sans I was, I took one for the team for you.
Thank you.
Made a few jumps I did not expect to survive, so that was kind of fun. It's been interesting kind of pushing the bounds to see how far you can drop and survive in Moria. Sometimes unintentionally, but What can you do? That was mostly it for my week. I'm also working on a fun LOTRO project that I can't share yet, but details will be coming soon, possibly next week. We'll have to see. Don't quote me on that. But I will keep you guys posted. So, Pine Leaf, what did you do this week?
Before I start, I just want to note a couple of things from the chat where Sam Burke was noting that while his primary language is Swedish, that he just does everything in LOTRO in English, which is probably the case for a lot of people also. That
Nice.
Just play the game there and not worrying about that. So probably depends on the language and on how many people speak that language that are also playing. Because that's also another possibility on the matter. Now, the other thing I noted is that we were talking about what they were going to be doing related to things. I was thinking about, what about Bingo Boffin? Right now I'm guessing, well, it was released as episodic content anyway. Are they going to do that as episodic once per week in the new server? Or are they just going to release all of Bingo that goes up to the gate of Moria? Release that part of Bingo, then we worry about the next part of Bingo will be released when Moria is unlocked, or... That's an interesting question we have there, is what they're going to do with Bingo Boffin on that. My guess right now is that they're going to release it in chunks based on what the current cap is. We'll have to find out. Now, in the Crick Hollows grades and the weekly grades there, this week we ran them at level 120, tier 2, just to see how it was going. And we had this massive number of hunters.
Yay, hunters!
Yeah, let us just say that it was pretty much a slaughter.
Of whom?
Usually it was the mobs.
Excellent. That's good.
I believe, though, that we started getting a little cocky during the boss fight for Assault on Ringwraith's Lair. I think there were a few deaths during that particular... No, not Assault on Ringwraith's Lair, on Breaching the Necromancer's Gate. So we did have a little bit of a issue there, but overall we did pretty well on it. And as we were finishing up, they said, yes, next week it is back to cap tier 3, so that's going to be a real fun bit to see how ready we are for that. My main character completed the Iron Hills part of the new content. There is one wrap-up quest in Dale that I did not finish because I kept on thinking, I was thinking that was going to be a long quest that was going to throw you into some side things and stuff like this. I better save that for later. And when I found out what that quest is and how short it was, I think I feel I should have done it in a complete different way, because this is something that I'm doing that's being recorded and posted on YouTube. And I think I could have had things spaced out and paced a lot better if I knew how short that Dale quest was going to be. But those are the things you learn. And how long the stuff in Erebor was. So it was the complete opposite of what I was expecting. So, of course, I wound up making a wrong decision there. And I was trying to finish up the Iron Hills by the end of the month, and oh well.
But that experience paid off, because when we got there on our
Just gonna say, you knew.
Well, I wasn't sure what was going to be happening in Dale, but I knew that the Erebor thing was going to be a long time, and if we got into it, it was going to turn into a rabbit's den.
Thank you for saving us from that.
Yes. Now, that would be nice for next week, because I think it would probably take us our entire session to get through that rabbit den. Then, during the field trip, we headed into Wildermore. Yeah?
Uh-huh.
So we went out to Wildermore and trying to see what all we could do
I apologize to everyone who was on the field trip and was killed because of my rashness.
I forgot exactly what happened there.
Well, remember there was that warband pop-up notice?
Oh, yes, the warband.
And the mobs were only orange.
Only orange?
So I figured we could take them pretty easily.
Uh-huh.
And Pineleaf
You all died,
survived.
didn't you?
No, Pineleaf survived. But I apologize sincerely to Finn and Xerox.
Pineleaf, did you run away?
No.
No. He killed them.
Oh.
Yeah,
he didn't have a res, though, so the rest of us were out of luck.
Yes. I had to do a lot to try to stay alive because that was a tough fight there. Now, the rest of the party did soften them up quite a bit, so otherwise I think I would have been squashed if I tried to take that on them all by myself. And that includes my week in LOTRO. We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on a podcast of your choice, or even be a guest with us for an episode of LOTRO Players News. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@lotroplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, LOTRO Players @LOTRO Players, Arandis @Arandis, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, Sanswinda @Sanswinda, and Terry Edwin @Terry Edwin. The Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our live shows at lotroplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.